My name is Agustin Katya. Today, we are celebrating the World Refugee Day. The word refugee carries a lot of meaning. We know the troubles, the problems, and the hardship that go with the word refugee. A lot of time we have seen how refugees are brought into the country. And when they come to America, we think, oh, we are all right. We have come to America. The first thing that happens to a refugee is the culture change. There is absolutely a new culture that these refugees will face. Within those cultures, that is culture from Africa or wherever in the world that the person comes from, they are all faced with different types of problems, but they manage to make up. However, the negative side of being a refugee cannot be overemphasized. Today you will hear one refugee tell you a story, their own story, or you think of yourself as a refugee and reflect back on your story. What made you to become a refugee? When you see the other person and they tell you their own story, you will feel bad. You will not be happy that the person is telling you a story worse than yours. I will give you myself as an example. I escaped in a hail of bullets, and there was this lady who had 2 kids. They walked for a long time and she was very tired. The kids had nothing to eat, they had nothing to drink, and we with them had nothing. One of the kids died. She couldn't leave the kid behind, and she too got tired. The other child was also dying, and rebels were coming. So we all continued to run away, and we left her dying there with her 2 kids. This is only to emphasize the hardship refugees undergo before they are seen as human beings. In a certain place, somebody asked if refugees were having horns. Is refugee a human being? Do they have horns? They didn't know. That tells you that these people would see somebody, a refugee, but they wouldn't know what that refugee is going through. On the other hand, on the better side of things, when refugees have come to a free land like America, a lot of people open their arms. A lot of people are happy to help those refugees, and eventually the refugee will change into a citizen and they start to live a positive life. Living a positive life entails a lot. Those refugees, they come from countries, most of them come from countries who are non-English speaking. They speak different local languages, they have never been to school, and they are faced with the Americans they meet who do not understand any other language but English. These refugees are bound to suffer in one way or the other, either how to navigate in the country they find themselves. How to get jobs? It is only organizations like the Refugee Dream Center. The word went away. The Refugee Dream Center is one of those organizations who bring the refugees together, direct them, show them where to get assistance from. They provide education. They go all out to look for old materials, second-hand materials that are usable, to be distributed to the new arrivals. And when they come, it is apparent that they are needy people. They want this, they want that. Some of them would be surprised to see that, oh, I have to pay for my house, oh, but somebody will help me. And then at some point, I met a Central African refugee, and she asked me, where do they pick money from? It was, excuse me, it was very, very appalling to hear a lady ask, where do they pick money from? Because when we're in Africa, we heard a lot of money flow over here. We get money, people get money, they have cars, they have houses. So her question was, where is the fountain of money where I can go to get money? I had to teach her, I had to explain. So a lot of times, refugees are people who are really suffering. But many people do not care to know. They don't care. They only know that, oh, this refugee is coming to do something to this country. They are taking our work. They are taking our positions. We don't like refugees to come here. But when you check back, 80 years, 90 years ago, most of these people, their parents came as refugees. And they managed to survive and got their children. Those children became tough and strong, and then they try to muzzle other people who are striving to stand. We hear the recent saga with refugees. First of all, many of those, like our President Donald Trump, he doesn't seem to understand the plight of these people. He doesn't know where the people come from, the suffering they undergo. If we have the chance to be able to help them, why do we separate them? Why do we take their children? And you leave the woman who was running away from gang violence with her child, came over 200 miles to come to say, please help me. And then you say, I help you, your child, go on that side. You are not going to see your mother. These are some of the sufferings of our refugees. And since it is so hard for the refugee to really settle in, we need people to say, yes, even Jesus was a refugee at a point. With Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, they became a refugee at a point. So, all our able bodies should be able to help our refugees, should be able to love us, should be able to share with us, because each one of us have a sad story to tell. But I won't tell you those stories now, as I thank you for listening. Thank you.